All right, it's 10:30, so I'm starting our recording. And we're on.
Good morning, everyone. It is Sunday, January 6th. It is the first Sunday of February 2022. And for historic purposes, we're still in the midst of our coronavirus, COVID-19 Omicron variant. Many people still getting ill, many people still dying. Very tough period for the world. So today, the morning talk is going to be on attention and inattention. I was reading the New York Review of Books. Just trying to see if I can see quickly. February 10th, 2022. And there's a book review on called The Unimaginable Touch of Time, and it's an interesting review of two books, one on the Great Alaskan Earthquake and one on, hard to even describe. It's called The Book of Unconformities. So the writer of this article is talking about Our Town, a play that I think many of us have run across, and especially maybe in our high school years. Maybe we saw it when we were younger. But I think the author brings out a very interesting point. He's talking about Oscar. I don't know what Wilder's first name is. Thornton Wilder, the 1938 play. So this writer says, the real reason Wilder's play lands like such a punch to the solar plexus and remains one of today's most frequently produced plays from high school to Broadway stages is not its devastating portrayal of a life's insignificance. The ultimate disaster that Wilder wants to confront is not irrelevance, but inattention. At the play's end, Emily Gibbs returns to her mortal life from beyond the grave, choosing to relive her 12th birthday. As she watches her mother bustle about the kitchen, absorbed in morning rituals, Emily sees for the first time with mounting horror how she and her family and her neighbors really live. That is, without fully registering one another's presence. I can't go on, Emily cries out. It goes so fast. We don't have time to look at one another. This is in 1938, mind you. It's written. She starts to sob as the scope of this disaster hits her. I didn't realize. So all this was going on and we never noticed. Quote, do any humans being ever realize life while they live it? Every minute. End of quote. She asks the stage manager. The stage manager responds, no. The stage manager replies, and then adds after a pause, the saints and poets, maybe, they do some. Inattention. It's perhaps the theme song of modern life. This particular article is really talking about relational inattention. You know, one of the people I like to cite very frequently is Martin Buber, wrote a very famous poem, book, I and Thou. And it really is about coming into attention with the divine coming into attention with another. It was sparked, apparently, people speculate, maybe it's explicit, that at one point somebody came to Buber's door and wanted to talk to him, and Buber was busy, and this person went off and committed suicide. And this somehow shook Buber, as understandably come to his senses. And it's really a kind of moving poem contrasting what he calls an I-it relationship with reality with an I-thou relationship. And I-it is marked by instrumentality, which is really just making use of things. And the modern world is all about making use of things. Buddhist practice is really a reversal of that. To many extents, it's a kind of anti-utilitarian approach to things. One of the things that we pay attention to in our teachings is our human potentiality. It's really a kind of interesting and remarkable teaching that we have in Buddhism on Buddha nature. It's not the only religious tradition that talks about our inner divinity. Many do. It's just that in the particular Buddhist rendition of that vision it's very, very inspiring and very, very uplifting. And that is that we each already have full divine potential in us. And it is a very, very puzzling perspective in some respects, insofar as most of us are pretty aware of our feet of clay. We are talking about this in our first and third Tuesdays in our teachings. And of course, you're all welcome to those broadcasts. But we've decided to try to use our first and Sundays to use some of the inspiration of what's going on in first and third Tuesdays to talk about some things, bring that a little bit to closer to our experience. The idea that we each could are already fully Buddha, fully awakened. I mean, Buddha just means to awaken, that we are fully awakened. We are wise beyond ordinary. We are compassionate beyond ordinary in a core. It's quite a vision. And I think for many of us, it's quite a leap. You know, if what I'm struggling with is that I can't put my phone down, I need to look at it, every 5 minutes and open an app and check my emails or look at my Instagram or my tweets. Maybe I can't stop drinking. Maybe I've got my own version of addictive behavior. I eat too much, watch the wrong things on the internet. Maybe worrying is an addiction. Maybe feeling bad is a kind of addiction that I have. maybe I reminisce about the past in a way that I can't get free of, or maybe I'm just always thinking about the future and never in the present. If we're immersed in kind of the everyday obstructions, if we're immersed in everyday acts of inattention, feels kind of far to imagine that I'm actually a Buddha. I have to read my newspaper. Why are you bothering me about Buddhahood? And how can I be a Buddha if I'm so attached to reading my morning news column? We're aware of our ordinary human frailties. I think it's important in the comfort of our own space to really confront the question of, can I really internalize that I have the potentiality of full awakenment right now in my life? It's present. You know, I think that one way to touch into this, and again, this is something you can do in your own pace and in your own space. You know, if I look back in my own life, I've had a very specific kind of tug towards spirituality. And within the tradition, they would say that that kind of tug is really a kind of expression of our Buddha nature. It's kind of a magnetic orientation to the North Star, to the north. You know, we hear something about spirituality. We hear somebody talking about presence or awakeness or compassion, and we want to hear about it. That's interesting. Why is that attractive to us? You know, it's attractive to us in the same way I was thinking, I don't know what it was recently, but there was something occurring, and I noticed that, I don't know if it was 4th of July, which is quite a while away ago. 4th of July fireworks, you know, they're so attractive. What's so attractive about light? I just want to see light, exploding light. Or what's so attractive about beauty? We're mesmerized by beauty. What's so attractive about somebody saying, we're going to be giving a lecture on compassion? We're going to be giving a lecture on your true nature. Isn't it interesting that we want to put other things aside and go to hear that lecture and be in that meeting? It's a kind of inner glow that is feeling attracted to something that's occurring external, that's in harmony with our deepest nature. I was thinking about, you know, what obstructs this for us in the modern world. I think one thing that obstructs us, I mean, is this kind of constant inattention. And part of, I think, the fuel of this inattention is a kind of absence of self-care, self-love, self-compassion, a willingness to be with oneself, an absence of interest in being with oneself. Sometimes in its pretty common forms, it's a criticism of self or a discomfort with being in one's own body and within one's own mind. I don't know that it's indicative of everyone, but many people that I work with as a therapist want to talk to me about everyone in their circumstance, everyone in their surround, everyone in their life. But if I say, what's going on with you? It's like talking about a stranger. What are you experiencing in your body? What are you feeling? Even what are you thinking? It's a shocking question for many. Now, many of you, of course, are meditators and are used to looking internally, but that external gaze is very powerful. So the sense of not being in comfort with oneself, self-contempt, self-criticism, is a kind of endemic COVID of the soul, if you like, that we all see in ourselves and others in the modern circumstance. And one of the writers who writes about this nowadays is Kristen Neff. We've mentioned her before. And she sees three components to working with sort of not being at ease with oneself. One is mindfulness, shared humanity, and ultimately kindness. You know, if we notice that, if I say something like we all have Buddha nature, and if we notice a kind of inner freeze or an inner hiccup, or it's easy for you to say, Harvey, or well, next, it's okay. It might be helpful to start with a little bit of self-compassion, self-care, self-kindness, self-ease. And the whole process begins with mindfulness. You know, we all in our modern circumstance live so much in our heads. And the sidecar to living in our heads is judgment. We lose sight of our embodied sensations and feelings and kinesthetic experience of our bodies. And one of the quickest ways to move out of that is to be mindful. Start with mindfulness of the breath, as we do between 11 and 12 on our Sunday meditations. It's in a way so simple, but so profound to move out of the flywheel of our minds, flywheel of our judgment, into just a simple act of being with our breathing. Most of us don't even realize how consumed we are with thought and judgment, thought and judgment. It's so deeply immersed in our experience. If we ask somebody what they're feeling, they're often going to respond with what they're judging. It's hard to know that, oh, I have this pain in my chest and my right side, and it's about 2 inches wide, and it feels like fire, it feels like pressure, it feels like somebody pushing with their hand. When we start paying attention, we notice we don't even have words for some of our experiences. Part of what we're doing in our exploration of meditation is it's quite counterintuitive and quite countercultural. We're slowing down. We're paying attention. We're paying attention to ourselves, and we're paying attention to what our potentiality, our Buddha nature, sometimes called the Dharma Dhatu, the sphere of reality, ultimately is in our experience. One way I have of giving a kind of set of initials to what we do in meditation: facts, fresh, acceptance, curious, tender, spacious. Can we be with our breath in a way that's fresh and accepting, curious, tender? Love that word, tender, spacious. Self-tenderness is such a kind act that we can offer ourselves. Most of us are pretty good at being tender with others. We're not typically as kind to ourselves. It's really a challenge to allow ourselves to be with ourselves with kindness. So part of the avenue is if we're slowing down with our mindfulness, we're actually allowing ourselves to be with ourselves. We're looking at our experience freshly. One of the things about our minds is we're actually always looking at everything oldly. Mental knowing is always going to be unfresh. Marigold, seen it, been there, done that, seen one marigold, seen them all. And just in terms of the cognitive science of it, unless we do slow down, most of what we are actually experiencing are these kind of images of what came before. It's very unfresh. Acceptance is so profound, both of self and other. And curiosity, we really sort of approach the moment of a breath with newness and wonderment, and tenderness and spaciousness, an allowance of whatever is to be. If we bring that kind of quality to our experience, whatever we are experiencing, we can maintain our focus. If we can't, we do get in touch with our common humanity. This is what a human being is capable of. I'm completely distracted. Okay, this is what all human beings are going through. We're all distracted. I'm focused. This is what human beings are capable of. And just a kindness, a wish for ease, peace, health for ourselves, and ultimately for others. The ingredients of self-compassion. Within an ocean of self-compassion, hopefully, we can start imagining that something deeper and broader and wiser is, in fact, our deepest heritage. We can be awakened with wisdom and compassion, and we can begin to hold that as a possibility for ourselves and as a possibility for every living being, even though clearly many don't seem aware of it. And to be able to relate to others with that sense of potentiality and that blessing of what people might be is such a sacred perspective. So attention really can be a gateway for being touched with the ambrosia of something deeper, something richer, for ourselves and for others, for deep, deep possibility. And I think most of all, it's important when we're contemplating something like attention that we recognize that the process is the goal, by which I mean, it's not like, I'm going to go meditate because I want to calm down. Been there, done that, so I can allow myself that sarcasm. No, if we're wanting to bring ourselves to attention, I'm now going to undertake a practice of cultivating attention, and I'm going to be doing it with some ease and spaciousness and tenderness and curiosity, not with some gremlin sitting on my shoulder saying, you now have to cultivate attention. You're not cultivating attention very well. Can we be kind to that gremlin? We understand that you've got a voice in the party, but we're actually trying to allow everybody to calm down a little bit and be at ease. So we will be meeting for our meditation in about 4 minutes. Might be good to give people a moment of break. We will resume at 11 to 12, and then at 12 Central Time, we will have a Dharma conversation. If you're interested in conversing with our colleagues, we will do so. Probably the topic for today will be the issue of attention and inattention. And of course, it is lovely to see everybody right now. And we'll be back in a few minutes.